So,
Hello.
hello. So I found conflicting evidence in my research as to how to pronounce your name. So if you would, please state your name for the record.
Of course, it is Ruaridh Mollica.
Ruaridh Mollica. Got it. I'm
Amazing.
Peter Canavesi of GrouchoReviews.com.
Oh,
Uh, if we were in Italy, no doubt we would say Canavese, but here I am in America. So um,
yeah.
the film is called Sebastian, but it's actually about two personas. And the slow unraveling of a false self called Sebastian and the kind of gradual weaving together of a self called Max. Uh, as a matter of character and behavior and performance, how did you understand the difference between the two and how you would play it for the camera?
Yeah, I mean, that was something that was very difficult at the beginning when I first started preparing for the role. It was really, I really struggled because I didn't want to have too much of a separation between these two versions of themselves. And ultimately, after me talking about it a lot with Miko, he kind of turned to me and said, "It's not Batman Bruce Wayne. It's not Clark Kent. It's like actually what came down to it was that everything that Sebastian does is either just a slightly bigger reflection of what Max enjoys or what Max is going through at the time anyway. But the biggest thing about Sebastian is he's basically a reflection of what his client's desires are, and that was the big turning point for me, because the character is the same. Certain elements may come out because you've got this guise of anonymity, which I'm sure we all, if we were completely anonymous, you would maybe be a little bit more loud or whatever, so that's definitely an element of it, but the key factor was being able to reflect the desires of the clients.
Mhm. The film begins in medias res, and so we don't really get to see how this all began for Max. And so I'm curious, in your mind, or as informed by the writer director, did Max begin the sex work out of pure personal curiosity, and then decide to write about it, or did he decide to write about sex work and then begin his research?
So I think, if I'm correct, the way that it came about was Max did a short article for one of the magazines that he was working for, Wire magazine, um, and he interviewed sex workers for this article just about modern day sex work, and he found it very intriguing and interesting, and perhaps already had a friends, distant friends in the sex work community or something like that. But it was through this interview that he did for a magazine piece that really got him intrigued in the subject and probably prompted deep research into the thing, and then sparked the idea of the novel and this, oh my God, I can be gêné, I can be transgressive, and I can live my art and do this thing.
um, so things are much better than they've ever been in the world for queer people, and yet there's still so far to go, and complicated by the recent surge in far right homophobia. So, can you talk about your own coming out story, if you're willing, and your relationship to your queer identity as a person and as an actor in the public eye?
Yeah, totally. I mean, my coming out journey was actually not even that long ago. It was something that, we all have that thing throughout high school or university where I would kiss boys but deny it, and that kind of experience of not fully wanting or being able to accept yourself at that time. And perhaps that was, I grew up in a fairly small city of Edinburgh, and you're kind of rooted and tied to who you were. It's very hard to grow. I'm sure anyone who's experienced, especially towns, people who've grown up in small towns and things like that. So it really wasn't until I did this one short film called Too Rough in my final year of university. And that was quite important as well in confronting things and working with queer directors and other queer actors, and actually bringing a queer community around me, because it wasn't something I really had. I did computer science at university. It was not a very glamorous place to be. And the biggest change was I moved to London. I moved to London and I did a job, and there was more queer friends in my job, and it was just, I finally felt safe to understand myself and admit to myself my queerness and my sexuality and experiment more. And I really just kind of settled into it through London. And then Sebastian came along, and that was an opportunity where I could and probably would have to become public about my sexuality. I mean, not necessarily everyone would be, but I thought it would be a perfect vehicle to do that with. And I feel very proud to be a queer actor and proud to be waving the queer flag, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, Too Rough is a remarkable 16-minute film. I hope people will seek it out. It's on home video. Um, and as a part of this process, like you're talking about, it's a testament to how art can educate and heal and inspire, which brings us back to Sebastian. You're playing a creative protagonist, working through his issues. To what extent did you personally identify with Max, and what aspects of him were more of a challenge to internalize?
I actually related to him a lot. Like, I got the part when I just moved to London to pursue my dream as an actor or carry on that whatever that was. And Max had recently moved to London to pursue his creative endeavors as a writer. Max was really obsessed with literature, and I'd recently become really obsessed with literature. Mainly after COVID, I wasn't into reading before, and then COVID hit, and I became obsessed. And it came at a time where that correlated perfectly. And originally, the character of Max was meant to be English, and Miko completely rewrote the character to be from Edinburgh, where I'm from. So that blurred the lines even more. And the fact that he's going on this journey of self acceptance and discovery through sex work and finding out what he enjoys and that he does enjoy the work and his writing. I was also going on my journey of completely accepting my sexuality and coming out to everyone, and it was actually so perfectly harmonious. It was bizarre.
So I think people have outside of the industry have a kind of a limited understanding of what an intimacy coordinator does. This is a film with a number of sex scenes, and of course, time is money. But an intimacy coordinator allows that opportunity, that protective process that insists upon a time to give the actor that trust and safety. So, how were your experiences working on those sex scenes, and was there a learning curve?
Yeah, there was totally a learning curve actually. It's bizarre because you think, oh, we all have sex. A sex scene can't be that difficult. Bloody hell. Like one, you do it like 16, 17 times and you're exhausted. But two, it really is an art form, you know. Intimacy coordinators are so, so important. I really didn't understand how one could form such a strong and trusting relationship with another actor to be able to do these scenes where you're practically naked and being very intimate with each other. And really, the intimacy coordinator comes along, and they, in about half an hour, through various different games and consent exercises, can build this trust that you really only have with your best friends and some family or partners and things like that. And it was absolutely incredible. They're always forever there, but always kind of quiet on the sideline. You always feel held and always feel trusted. And they also like blocked and kind of built these scenes and the foundations of what things would look like. And they don't, it would always be like placeholders for kisses until the very moment, and then Miko would come in and kind of um tighten things up and bring a bit of nuance in and things like that.
Mm. Um, so on the flip side of that feeling of comfort and safety, um, there's a vulnerability to being a child actor. You started as a child actor. I just this morning watched your debut on screen. You really leapt off the screen even as a kid. Um, and frankly, also a vulnerability as a sexy young bisexual actor in the industry with a long history of exploitation. So, have you had any damaging experiences of your own, or has your time in the industry been strictly blessed?
I mean, I've not really had any. I mean, child actor, I feel like I did a few little things when I was a kid. They were in Scotland. It's a very like small community, and they make lots of good stuff, and it was great to be involved in these things, but I didn't really know what was going on. It was very much like turned up at this place. I looked like someone's child, got cast in this thing. I had no idea what was going on. And hence I never went into acting I didn't act from, I don't know, maybe like age 15 until 21, I guess, when Too Rough came along. So I don't know, I didn't have that experience of what a lot of people must have of growing up in the industry. I think I was lucky enough to avoid that and come back into the industry at a point where I was mature and had developed myself as a person. Um, Perhaps with this film, because of I imagine with elements of the nudity, there's certain areas where that could be exploited online and things, and that's something that is definitely at the back of my mind. But there's things in place for that. I wouldn't say I'm particularly worried or have experienced anything negative as of yet.
um, if you're willing to share, what's the significance of your tattoos?
Oh, well, this one,
Hmm.
I actually got after a bad breakup. I shaved all my hair off like Britney Spears, and got this tattoo around my 21st birthday. At the time, didn't mean anything, but now it's like a little cherub breaking through chains with a like a little chain cutter thing. And now I see that as like accepting my sexuality and breaking out of whatever I was in before, whether that was related to relationships or not relationships and things like that. And now really I just kind of collect different bits and bobs from artists that I really like. There's maybe a few others on my legs. Like I don't know if this one was in Sebastian. It says Buonanotte Fiorellino on my thigh, which is Good Night Sweetheart, and it's a famous Italian song if you know it. Um, and yeah, the rest of them are probably either I drew them myself and got someone to do them, or I just like the artist.
Mhm. um, I'd like to hear a little bit about, I know you can't say much, but about the franchise and working with Armando Iannucci, the great Armando Iannucci.
Oh, I mean that show. I just can't wait for everyone to see it. That was something that the audition came through and they told me nothing. The audition scene was 3 lines. It was the same line over and over again. And I submitted it and I went, that's going into the abyss. And I ended up getting it. I turned up to the table read and the cast is just phenomenal. I don't know who yet's been announced and who's not, but if it's there, include it. And Armando Iannucci's there, and Sam Mendes was there directing the pilot, and I mean, just phenomenal. Armando is an absolute genius, and John Brown was also like the lead writer on it, as well as Tony Roach, known for their Succession, obviously. And to do a show that is a comedy series was something I never thought I'd be able to do. So it was an incredible opportunity, and to work with some comedy legends in such a surreal scenario. Like the whole show is about making superhero films, and we all play crew, and it's all about how absurd our industry is, and it is absolutely brilliant.
Well, I'm about to get the hook, so I want to ask you with my last question about the short film that you made. You wrote and directed a short film called The Doomsday Clock. That's a poetic monologue about the human extinction event brought on by climate change. Fun stuff, and also available on YouTube. I hope people will go check that out. So, how did that come to be? And do you intend to do more work behind the camera?
Wow, I can't believe you know about that. That's amazing. Well, actually, I was in Ireland. It was Christmas time. I got COVID. I was filming a show called Witness Number Three. The whole show got shut down, and I had to spend the entirety of Christmas in an apartment by myself in Ireland with COVID. And I was about a bottle of wine deep. And I was just like, you know what? I was thinking about fake Christmas trees and everything like this, and Christmas and the amount of waste that goes on around Christmas. And I was like, I'm pissed off, you know. And at the time, I was doing a lot to offset my carbon footprint, which I still do using I think they're called Ecology. You can just it's a reforestation program, um, and I just started writing. And just let it all flow out. And I was really inspired by there's an opening scene of The Get Down, It was a Netflix show with Justice Smith, maybe is his name. And he has this opening verse where he's reading a excerpt from, I think it's Nas who wrote it originally, the rapper, about something like that. And there was just a beautiful, tender, the way he performed it and it flowed. I was really inspired by that. And so I wrote this and decided, you know what, why not? Let's just make it. Let's just try it. Let's just do it. I've never done this before. So I did it and I'm really proud of it. It didn't really go anywhere. Not many people saw it. I mean, you did, which I'm very happy about. And yeah, I think I am planning on doing a few more things. I've got a feature kind of in mind about my father's story. He is, I don't know when he's basically short, long story short, he was a photographer in Italy, in Florence in the 80s. And when he was 31, he was coming back from work, went to the shop to get some food, forgot to get lemons, turned and crossed the road and was hit by a motorbike and lost his sight. And kind of he goes through this process of, having to relearn life and the purpose of life again, after losing his sole career and his everything like that. So that's something I'm working on at the moment, and I'm quite excited for in talks with some people. And yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah. All right. Well, we didn't get to talk about anything else like Red Rose or Witness Number Three, but
Oh, yeah.
this has been a great pleasure, and best of luck with Sebastian and everything to come.
Thank you so much. It's been so great to talk to you.
Great to talk to you.
Beautiful. Ciao.